So if Lundy is just 3 miles long and half a mile wide, you might consider that an insignificant speck in the sea. So why does Lundy have its own shipping area? Now, I'm come to here, Maris Coast Tavern, that we'll have a look at one of the reasons why Lundy was afforded a shipping area in its own right, the consequences of that, and a solution to those consequences that was tried a number of times. This map here, which they say you can get at the shop for $4.99, tells it all. Although Lundy is probably small in compared to some other islands around the world, its location in the Bristol Channel meant it was a serious hazard to navigation. If you come here to the tavern, you'll see all sorts of life belts and other items. These come from shipwrecks, and in fact a few days ago that was the 30th anniversary of a launch that was wrecked here. We even have regalia regarding an Air Force rescue helicopter that also crashed. But the problem was, Lundy was in the middle of the Bristol Channel, a main thoroughfare for shipping from the good people of Bristol, and so something had to be done to warn shipping of the danger of this island. And they came up with one solution which many people on the island thought was a bad idea.
This is the old light and stands on the top of Beacon Hill. It was started being built in 1820 and paid for by Bristol businessmen who thought that this was the ideal location. However, the locals disagreed but were disregarded. The problem was, during foggy weather it was totally obscured, and so a solution needed, and this is where we're headed to next.
As you walk along the west coast of Lundy Island, you'll come across this cairn. Now this is an indicator to the solution of what to do during foggy weather when the old light was obscured. And this is where we will go and have a look at the solution they came up with. Warning, if you're coming down here you need some really good walking boots, because it's quite a steep climb down here. This was the solution to that problem. This is the gun battery, and it was built in the 1860s. This is one of the cannons, and in foggy weather they would fire a blank round every 10 minutes to warn of fog. This is the front end of it. Over the west coast, more of the west coast there, looking south, and this is the other cannon. Just up these old stone steps from the gun battery, we come first of all to the magazine that held the gunpowder for the rounds that were fired. You had to house the personnel who ran the gun battery, and this was where they were housed. It was said at one time there was a family of 13 children lived here, and they had to be sent to hide when the lighthouse inspectors came to call because they weren't supposed to be here. If the records are correct about that family of 13 that lived here, then one might think that this place would seem rather small for them. But we have to think, back in the 1800s they tended to pack people in into very tight spaces. Those were the days, not like today. But at least they would have had a very good view of the west coast of the island. Say, it's quite a climb. Imagine carrying down all that gunpowder or carrying supplies and stuff. That's quite amazing thought to think about that. In reality, the gun battery wasn't really an ideal solution. It's what we call a workaround. So I've come here to the north end of the island to see one part of what was the inevitable result of what they had to do. Down there is the north light. This is one of two lights that was built in 1897 and it was opened in 1898, which led to the decommissioning of both the old light and the gun battery.
And this is the other light, also opened in 1898, and this is the south light and is near the landing bay. Now the irony is that Mr. Heaven had wanted to have this solution, two lights, but the Bristol businessmen felt it was expensive, and so they went with the old light, and later when that proved ineffectual due to the foggy conditions, they brought in the workaround of the gun battery. Today these lights are maintained by Trinity House, and to this day they provide warning to shipping, keeping ships safe from being wrecked on the rocks of Lundy.
When we walked in fields of gold,